Hello and welcome to the Center for Spiritually Integrated Arts, a Centers for Spiritual Living teaching center. I am Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson. I am the founder and the spiritual director. Now, as you are sitting there joining us, you may have questions, any number of questions, such as, who am I? How did I get here? Spiritually integrated arts means what exactly? What is a teaching center? Well, what is Centers for Spiritual Living? What is that? What does that even mean? Or New Thought, or religious science, or science of mind and spirit? You may have any number of questions about this specific community, about the parent organization, CSL, our philosophy, our teaching, our liberation theology. Any number of questions. Feel free to send an email. We look forward to connecting more and building our virtual community, our global community. And if you haven't connected yet on social media, feel free to do so. This is your invitation now. Also, did you know that all of our Sunday messages are archived on our YouTube channel? You can watch it anytime. Now, questions about anything, such as becoming a member. What does that mean? What does membership entail? And if you live somewhere far and already belong to a spiritual community, can you be a member of more than one? The simple answer is yes, you can. Just like you can shop at more than one grocery store, you can attend or be a member of more than one gym. We are building beloved community. So you can do both. You can be a member of both. You can be involved with both. That's what being in spiritual community means. So we welcome you. We invite you. We are so appreciative that you have found this community and that you have joined us today. We bless you. We love you. We welcome you. Live long and prosper. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of our Sunday message. Love you. Connect with you soon. Blessings. Namaste and greetings, or should I say Om Shanti Om. Today we are talking precisely about that. Om Shanti Om. In the Buddhist and the Yogic tradition, the word Sangha, a Sanskrit word which roughly translated means spiritual community. It is a place where people come together, beloved community, where people come together to support each other's spiritual growth, knowing that by supporting your spiritual growth, it is actually promoting your entire life. But in general, the Sangha comes together to support each person's spiritual growth through the practice of cultivating and nurturing love, peace, belonging, evolution or evolutionary consciousness, and more. There is great power that comes from coming together of like mind in community. That's why we do it. We come together for that sense of belonging, that sense of connecting, that sense of being around others who are working toward the same ultimate goals, vision. Think of it like an orchestra. Everybody in the orchestra, they're playing their individual instruments. They're doing what is theirs to do, but they are doing it together for the purpose of creating this thing called symphony. Now, here within Centers for Spiritual Living, if we were to say, well, our CSL Peace Sangha, what does it mean for us to support each other in this thing called life? What does it mean for us to come together as beloved community? What does it mean for us to learn together and study together and practice together? What does it mean for us to be together? To have a collective grand rising where we are collectively as beloved community, as this CSL Peace Sangha, where we are uplifting collective consciousness. And in so doing, we are further putting together the various pieces of peace to create a world that works for all. Om Shanti. They're one of my favorite verses. Well, let me 3 steps back because I was thinking, how do I want to do this? So, if you know me, I like the Matrix. And in the Matrix, there's one part where Neo is combating Agent Smith or the various Agent Smiths. And the background music, there actually is a choir singing this verse. You do know what that says, right? No? Om Asato Ma Sat Gamaya Tamaso Ma Joitir Gamaya Mijorma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. But what does that mean? It means lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness to light, lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Now, what does this have to do with us, right? And I know that's what you're thinking. So we're going to get ready to break down Om, because in that final transliteration, you notice Om, but their spelling is A-U-M, Om, but it's still Om, O-M. It's not being translated. And it's because it is the seed sound that encompasses all. But what does this have to do with us? So think about for a moment, what does it mean for you to be led from the unreal to the real? What does it mean for you to be led from darkness to light? making sure that we understand that darkness is not the enemy. It is being used as linguistic or poetic convenience to reference the idea of ignorance. Because if you are in the darkness, you cannot see, you cannot, okay, so just be mindful in the grand scheme of things. What it is saying is, lead me from this space of ignorance where I do not know better, so I cannot do better, to lead me to a more evolved consciousness where I now know better and can therefore do better. Lead us from death, the fixation of death, the morbidity of death, the addiction to death, because many of us are addicted to death, and many of us are already living a life of death long before we transition out of this body. So lead us from this awareness, this addiction, this morbidity, to this space of the infinite, the immortal, and the eternal. Om, peace, peace, peace. So what is Om? Om is everything. It is the all-encompassing cosmic vibration of the universe. And the actual Sanskrit symbol, which I'm going to tell you later to reference back to this slide, so keep that in mind. Each stroke, each brush stroke means something. And we're not going to break that down right now. You can come back and read this at your leisure, screen capture it, or send an email and Tracy will send it to you. But think about it, that this symbol, in the same way that we could say God, that word is a symbol that represents the all-encompassing cosmic vibration that is the universe itself. So Om, the sound of creation. Om, the all-encompassing vibration of God that is God and God creating God. That's all there is. Now, Shanti. It is often repeated 3 times because the first one represents peace at the physical level. Second time, peace at the mental level. Third, peace at the emotional level. Now, what does that mean for you? Like I said, I'm going to reference you to come back to this. What does it mean for you to have physical peace, inside and outside, mental, inside and outside, emotional, inside and outside? What does it look like? What does it mean for you? So that when you are saying Shanti, 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 you are actually embodying it. Dr. Holmes invites us. You find me 1,000 people in the world who know what religious science is, and they use it, and they live it as a way of life. And I will myself live to see a new world, a new heaven, and a new earth here. So what's been the problem? We don't really necessarily have a world that works for all as a lived experience right now. Because if we did, then Sonia Massey, who was murdered in July, I had to think about, was it August? No, it was July, wouldn't have happened. In a world that works for all, the police officers do not murder unarmed, innocent people. So we do not currently have a new world, a new heaven, and new earth that Dr. Holmes is referring to. We don't have it right now. So do we not have 1,000 people who know what it is, use it, and live it as a way of life? Because if we did, when we do, we will reach an energetic tipping point. You know, you fill the glass, and then eventually you get that one last drip, and then it runs over. The tipping point. Are we at a tipping point of consciousness where we are truly ready to transform individual consciousness and collective consciousness in order to actually manifest a world that works for all? Or are we still okay with pretending and playing the game of spirituality, playing the game of science of mind and spirit? As long as I'm comfortable, as long as you're comfortable, so we can gather for our peace parties, we can gather for our season of nonviolence, we can quote Dr. King, we can, talk about democracy and a world that works for all, and we can, claim we're getting rid of jargon and we're like, I'm spiritual but not religious, and we can, do all these, jump through all these hoops and pretend, but is it really changing what we desire it to change? Not just for our individual lives, not just for our individual communities, but collectively. Because that's the invitation, is to get so profoundly invested in and embodied in what this is that we're talking about, that the energy of Om Shanti Shanti Shanti, the energy of, I know what science of mind and spirit is. I use it and I live it as a way of life to such a degree that a new world, a new earth, a new heaven is manifesting right here and right now. Are we willing to do that work? Are we willing to confront whatever needs to be confronted to such a degree that we, brush off what is no longer serving us individually and collectively? Or, once again, are we cool with pretending? Now, I'm not going to go through this entire passage from Philippians. Feel free to come back to it because I'm going to remix this. But a couple of things. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your request to God. Whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is right. Think on these things. Okay, I got you. So let's remix this. 1, don't worry about anything. Instead, take life-affirming action, such as engaging in the activity of prayer as a way of life. Fueled by thanksgiving, present your desired experiences into the law as manifested, and then, with dedication, conviction, confidence, and peace, do what is yours to do. Even when there are people and events you do not understand, do the work that you do on whatever is honorable, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is rooted in love, whatever is admirable, whatever is life affirming. If anything is excellent, praiseworthy, and evolutionary, align your mental equivalents on those things. Whatever you have learned, or received, or heard from, or seen in, or felt as a result of any role models, gurus, avatars, teachers, etc., emulate, embody, and put into practice similar consciousness, knowing that between you and God, there is no between. Breathe. As Dr. King says, let us realize that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. If we want a just and equitable world, we must be it, do it, live it, create it. As the statue in the center illustrates, we must be willing to bend our swords into plowshares. We must be willing to take the truth and mold it in such a way. Pause. Sword, spiritually, in many traditions, represents the truth. That's why I'm saying truth. And yet, swords are weapons of warfare, weapons that kill, but they don't have to be. See, a gun, in essence, unless you're just doing target practice, a gun is meant to kill. So we want to evolve our consciousness. But even the gun can be bent and reshaped. Recently, I was at an event out in Delaware where this gentleman was taking guns, various types of guns, rifles and shotguns and pistols and all kinds of guns, and he melts them down and reshapes them into gardening implements and jewelry. If we want a world that works for all, then we must be willing to do the work. Because as Dr. King says, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. But as Rabbi Shapiro says, it doesn't bend of its own accord, but rather under the weight of those with the power to bend it. Are we willing to have the power, to engage the power, to embody the power, to bend it? Breathe. In our Declaration of Principles, we say, we believe in the individualization of the spirit in us, and that all people, and actually it's more than people, all things are individualizations of the one spirit. God is all there is. So that means it's the phone, it's the lotion, it's the bottle, it's the marker. It's all of it. God is all there is. So it has to be all of it. It's everything. Okay, I got you. Are we living in such a way where we recognize this? Where we're recognizing that we have the power, that we are the power, that can change and transform the world in which we live. You may be familiar that Dr. Holmes used to have a radio show, and at the beginning of the show, he would always say this one particular thing, referencing, there is a power for good in the universe, greater than I am, greater than you are, and you can use it. There is this power that is what you are, and you can use it. You are already using it. And Dr. Holmes says, the life within you is God. Whatever is true of God is true of your life, since your life and the life that is God are not two, but one. Whatever is true about God is true about you. Are you living as though you truly believe? And if you don't believe this, because there are things that are going on, that's fine. Then the invitation is, what is preventing me from believing this? Is it some other mental equivalent, some belief, some trauma, what is preventing me from truly believing this and embodying it? See, that's where we get the opportunity to go in and practice it. Do I believe this? No. Why not? Do I believe it? Yes. Am I living as though I believe it? If someone were to look at me and look at my life, will they see this belief as being true? If not, then I'm invited to do something different. Dr. Holmes says, I know that because the divine mind has created us all, that's all there is, we are bound together in one infinite and perfect unity. One. But we live in a world where there is duality and binary and separation. And yet, back of it all, there is one infinite and one perfect unity. And our invitation is to be in the both and. I understand and I operate in a world of the binary while knowing that there is only one. I operate in a world of duality knowing that there is only one. Showing up as, but there is still only one. Remix. So I want us to look at this little piece for a second. I know that because the divine mind has created, so for me, Science of Mind and Spirit 4.0, this implies an anthropomorphic and separate. So I want to tweak it. I want to remix this because in the same way that if we were to ask, does the rose bush create roses, or are roses, the blooms, simply an expression of a natural expression of rosebush? You're not going to get oranges sprouting from a rose bush. So a rose bush naturally produces, naturally expresses, doesn't create these. They are, if anything, they are naturally created because of what the rose bush is. Well, we, same thing. God doesn't create us. We are a natural expression of that which it is. We are it expressing. Just that tiny little tweak of an understanding changes how we live, move, and have our being. It's how we talk about God. For me, this is me, the idea that God created me, the idea that God needs me to learn something, the idea that God is sending me lessons, or that God needs me in order for it to experience, for me, that screams of anthropomorphism and separation. It's using the old idea of God, simply using new thought languaging around it. And for me, that doesn't work. So I'm simply inviting you into a space where that which God is expressing itself in, through, and as you. So it didn't, quote unquote, create you. It is you. It is you. So I know that because the divine mind is ever incarnating, ever expressing, and ever being, and that includes it incarnating, expressing, and being, all of us and everything, we are therefore bound together in one infinite and one perfect unity. Try that on. Do you notice any energetic or feel that, like, how does it feel in reference to what Dr. Holmes said? Now, I understand completely what he's saying, but once again, for me, Science of Mind and Spirit 4.0 is what we're invited into in order to truly manifest a world that works for all. Breathe. What do you see? If I were to ask you to describe this, what comes to mind? Just pause and think for a second. What do you see? Okay. Maharishi Mahesh Yogi says, just as there cannot be a green forest without green trees, there cannot be a peaceful world without peaceful individuals. The green you see is because the trees are green. The forest you see is because of the trees that make up the forest. And all of these are expressions of the divine. So there are many ways we can describe the bark, the leaves, the path, the road, the ground, the sky, and yet all of it is that infinite, perfect, one single unity. And what it is, you are. So if you want a peaceful world, you want a world that works for all, ask yourself, how peaceful are you? To what degree am I expressing and living and moving and having my beingness as the very embodiment of peace? It requires a radical shift in consciousness. And we've had many people demonstrate enough is enough. All kinds of protests and all kinds of marches and all kinds of sit-ins and all kinds of people saying enough is enough, it is time to change. Enough is enough, it is time to evolve. Enough is enough, it is time to love. It is time for peace. It is time for justice. It is time for equity. But is it time for a world that works for all? Are you ready to be a part of, truly be a part of, a world that works for all? Or are you one, like many others, who don't believe it's possible? For as long as there are people, there will be war. Who created war? People. So if people created it, can't people choose not to create it? No, they cannot. So they have no choice. I mean, they're people. They're going to fight. They're going to argue. But aren't they fighting because of what they're thinking and feeling? Yes. So can't they change what they're thinking and feeling so they don't fight? No, because the ego, so they can't evolve to a point where their ego is no longer controlling and operating in fear and separation. Well, I mean, yeah, but it is time for me to go. I have a dentist appointment. Are we ready to believe to such a degree, not just that a world that works for all is possible, but that it is probable, and then continue to do the work to such a degree that it is now inevitable? As St. Francis says, when you are proclaiming peace with your lips, be careful to also have it even more fully in your heart. See, a lot of people talk peace. They speak the game. They know the lingo and the jargon. Peace, 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 peace. But it's not in their heart because they're not demonstrating it. And for one reason, many of us don't demonstrate it is because we think that peace is something out there to attain. We think we have to climb the mountaintop, whatever that is, of our consciousness, and we need enlightenment, and meow, 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 and then we'll have peace. No. There is nowhere that you need to go. There is nothing you need to do, because that which it is already right where you are. There's nowhere that we need to go to find God, to embody God, to be God, to whatever God. The universe is right here, right where you are. Between me and God, there is no between. So we need not go to the mountaintop to find it. It's right where we are, right now. So if we're not experiencing it, etc., then our invitation is, what needs to shift? Thich Nhat Hanh reminds us, there is no way to happiness. Happiness is the way. There is no way to peace. Peace is the way. There is no way to enlightenment. Enlightenment is the way. So when we say, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. What we're really invited to understand is, enlightenment is chopping wood and carrying water. If we want a world that works for all, then everything about the way that we are living our lives is that. Not something out there, but right here. Mother Teresa says, if we have no peace, and I would venture to say, if we have no equity and we have no justice, we have no peace, if we have no equity and we have no justice, then it is because we have forgotten that we belong to each other. We have no peace because we have forgotten that we belong to each other. We have no equity because we have forgotten that we belong to each other. We have no justice because we have forgotten that we belong to each other. Now, when we say belong to each other, what are we saying? That there is an infinite one, a divine and single unity that is expressing as all of us. We belong to each other because we are divine expressions of the universe. We are all made of the same star stuff. We are all sacred and holy. We are all that which God is. So the idea of being a Sangha, the idea of being the beloved community, it's what we all are. Whether we see it or not, whether we understand it or not, it is still what is. There's a whole bunch of people, long before we knew the molecular breakdown of H2O, people were drinking water and they understood the importance of drinking water, but they didn't know what it was. We don't have to necessarily know all of the ins and outs to understand. We want a place where we belong, where we are included, where we are supported, where we are loved, where we are nurtured. So if we want peace, remember we belong to each other. We want equity, justice. We belong to each other. That means we have to listen to each other, support each other, help heal each other. We do not heal in isolation. We heal in community. Dr. King reminds us, peace is not merely a distant goal that we seek, but a means by which we arrive at the goal. A world that works for all is not a distant goal that we seek, but it is the means by which we arrive at that goal. It's one and the same. Are we embodying it, though? Are we practicing it? That's the question. Because when we know what science of mind and spirit is, when we practice it, and when we live it as a way of life, we are able to live in such a way that even when we feel angry, even when we feel frustrated, afraid, even when we feel disregarded, we are able to come back to the default setting of peacefulness. belonging, that infinite oneness and unity. We can liken it to, we can compare it to gravity, like when tempers rise, when fears rise, when anxieties rise, when things go up. There is this force, gravity, this force of peace that will cause what goes up to come back and settle on earth, to drop once again and breathe and settle. So peace, like gravity, gives us the opportunity to come back down and be grounded, to be on solid ground, on the foundation that the earth is. And this thing, this practice, this occurrence happens more and more in how we practice peace, how we practice forgiveness and compassion and empathy towards others and empathy towards ourselves. It does not mean that we will never, ever, ever, never, ever feel anger or fear or sadness or frustration ever again. Rather, it means the more we practice it, the easier it is to heal and return to that truth, return to that groundedness, return to that stability, return to principle, and then to do whatever is ours to do in that moment to live our best lives. A grand rising moment by moment. Breathe. This week's affirmation or declaration, I will say it first, and if it resonates with you, say it with me on the second go round. My life is a living mantra of Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Absolute peace, peace, peace. Together. My life is a living mantra of Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Absolute or divine peace, peace, peace. And so it is. This week's questions for the Thursday night study group or for your own personal journal practices. I told you we were going to go back to that. So go back and look at that slide. What is Om and what is Shanti? And consider the various explanation of Om and Maya and all that stuff, and the 3 levels of Shanti. And consider how these things play out in your own life. How do they show up? What is the invitation? Number 2, what are some ways that we as a community can be advocates of and for peace? What are some ways that, ask yourself this, what are some ways that I am invited to do this as the individual, at the individual level? And what does a peaceful life look like for me? Ubuntu is sometimes translated as I am because we are. Sometimes it's I am because you are. Or humanity towards others. But it is often meant in a more philosophical sense to mean there's this belief in a universal bond of sharing that connects all humanity, an infinite one and infinite unity. So ask yourself, how can I be a part of practicing the principle of Ubuntu within our community, within my family, within my neighborhood? And then lastly, how can our CSL Peace Sangha be the peace we see in the world? In our local community, city, state, neighborhood, family? What would that look like? What is my role in it? And how am I invited to turn sword into plowshares? Breathe. We anchor in and we simply allow the truth of who and what we are to resonate and reverberate. We allow this vibration of peacefulness, this vibration of unity, this vibration of community, this vibration of Om Shanti, 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 to move from the within to all around. This absolute, this divine peace, peacefulness, justice, and equity to resonate and reverberate and vibrate everywhere we go, to contact everyone around us, every conversation, every phone call, every email, every text message, all of it, every way that we interact in the world, this energy of peacefulness vibrates. It ripples out. And there is a tipping point in the entirety of all creation, and we are living in a world that works for all. So we breathe and allow that truth to settle, to connect us one to another, to the all that is, as the all that is. Breathing, gratitude, breathing, joy, breathing, love and compassion, breathing, wisdom and discernment, breathing the sacred and the holy, that which is life itself, living itself in, through, and as each and every one of us. Knowing that this thing we call our lives is the very demonstration of our amen, that which we believe, amen, that which we enact and embody, amen, that which we do and think and feel, our life is our amen. So as I say this, I say that our amen in this moment is Om Shanti Shanti. Our amen in this moment is a world that works for all. As Dr. Holmes said, a new earth, a new heaven, a new life right here and right now. That is our amen. So we allow it to be exactly that, as answered prayer. And so it is. And so it is. Breathe. So as usual, check in the chat, usual for this month at least. Check in the chat and see if we are meeting for after message fellowship. And if so, I will see you there. And if not, I will see you at some point during the week, or I will see you here next Sunday. Much love, appreciation, and blessing.